the recollection of my first near death came back. It's like, wow, I get to revisit that again. It was, again, the most euphoric experience. What's the phenomena behind a near-death experience? Is it real? Are all those gifts that people get real? Yes, absolutely, including mine. I've gotten from the 2 near-death experiences. I've gotten amazing abilities. I've had to hone them, but I've gotten amazing abilities to transform my life and others worldwide, and that's what I do now. So how did I get there? I was unloading rail cars, and inside these rail cars, they have these moving walls to keep the product in place. And the moving wall was stuck. We couldn't get behind the product. So I offered, I was very athletic back then. I go, well, I'll just climb up, right? And I started pulling and pulling and pulling while my team members were pulling on the bottom. So this wall was like, moving back and forth, and all of a sudden it gave way. And that half-ton wall just went, it just pushed me right against the ceiling member, and I was crushed by my jaws right here. Thank God I wasn't like in my neck, because I would have just gotten decapitated, but, or hung by my neck. But I was crushed by the jaws right here. It just went, and I was dangling there. Okay. Now I didn't know that I was dangling there, but here's where it gets really cool. So I noticed the wall again moving, and it's like, oh, okay, it's moving. And then before I knew it, I was in another reality. I was in another world, and I was just like floating. And then I started to look at the wall, and then I peeled away from my body, and I was floating in front of my body, and I was looking there, and I'm going, wow, that must really hurt. Because I was seeing myself, and I was seeing the metal just embedded into my jaw, and it was broken, obviously. And I'm looking at it, and I'm going, wow, that must really hurt. And I'm just floating along. I didn't realize what had happened. Right? I was just floating there, and I look around, and I could see the team, my teammates. I'm looking around. It's like, oh, okay, well, the wall's open. I'm gonna go back to work. Right? I didn't know that I had died. I didn't know that I had passed on to another reality, another realm, another consciousness. When I was living or being in that space, it was just amazing. It was an amazing, amazing experience. And then it dawned on me. It's like, wait a second. I feel really great. I feel really all powerful. Literally, you do feel the power, by the way, and all possibilities. It's like, it's like, God, I can go to college and do this and do that. Again, the grander version of what we all dream about, right? I was living it at that moment, and life felt so unbelievably beautiful, right? And then I realized, it's just like, wait a second, what the hell's going on? I'm here. What am I doing over there, hanging there, right? And then I realized, it's like, oh, shit. And as soon as I noticed that, it's like, boom. It's like, wow, I'm dead. And you might think like, damn, I'm dead. I'm going to miss everybody and so on like that. I disconnected. I transcended through the rail car. I just like floated out, out of the confines of the rail car. And I went through the light. But I didn't stop at, a lot of people who have the near-death experience, they go through, the meeting their loved ones that have crossed over, pets and so on, like introductory. What I went through, I went into the realm of, a life review, or it's actually a life relive. Because in that moment in time, you're not sitting anywhere. But what you're doing is you're reliving life from an awakened state. In the past, right? And literally you live life. But our conscious mind, or what I could perceive, you couldn't experience everything. But from the moment, right before the moment of your conception, literally, from what I experienced, from the moment of conception, where your first cell, right, where the sperm and the egg, unite. I experienced that moment. It was a brilliant moment. Basically, your spirit coming into physical form. I call that a timestamp now, in the work that I do. From that moment on, going through, my mom's belly, experiencing that from an awakened being state, not a newbie going, hey, what's going on in this life, right? And then birth, and then, the first few years, and then you literally relive all the experiences that you lived in physical form, but in another realm, in a higher level consciousness. So it's a life, again, you're observing your life, but you're not observing is the key point. I just want to stress that. You're not observing. You literally are reliving all that, although you're an observer of how you're living it. So you'll go through the emotions, you'll go through the pain, you'll go through the sad times, you'll go through the happy times, and so on like that. But the difference is, you're an awakened being going through that. This voice comes from somewhere, and it's a loving voice. It's like, yeah, you know what? Because you want to stay here. It's the most beautiful experience ever. You just want to stay here, right? But it's like, yeah, of course, yeah, you can stay here. And it sounds like a choice. They give you a choice, but it's not really a choice. It's like, yeah, you can stay here. Of course you can. Or you can go back. So it's really not a choice. It's like, yeah, of course you can stay here. But then they're just like pushing you back into your body, It's like, oh. So it's not a choice. It's like, no, you need to go back. But they just say it so lovingly, right? And that's where I started to feel the pain, the intense pain of, my jaw. And then from what my coworker said, it just like I dropped to the floor. And I passed out. The next thing I know, I was in a hospital I woke up and my jaw was wired shut, so for 3 months I had to eat Vitamix everything that I had. Hamburgers, I'd put it in a Vitamix and just suck it up. The second near death was really interesting. Again, the first near death opened me to the possibilities of what we could be. Right? I saw the potentiality, the human potential in that life, and then I dropped back down. And then I craved, like, I wanted that life up there, right? I wanted to bring it in physical form. It's like, God, I know it's possible. How can I do that? And so I spent from my first near death to my second near death, which is about 20 years, give or take. So I was in my mid 40s. When I had my second near-death experience. And here's the deal. We were late. What happened, there was some airline issue, and they called us. It's like, hey, you know what? We're canceling flights. This is the only flight out. Okay? And we had to move. We had to get to the airport, which was about an hour away. And so we only had like an hour and a half to pack everything for a week-long cruise. Getting ready in a half an hour, throwing everything in the suitcase, and then getting to the airport, and then getting that one flight, because there was like about 10 flights that were canceled for that day, right? How did we manage to get onto that flight, right? That's a thing of its own. That was crazy, right? But it's just like this person came out, and it's like, hey guys, are you interested in an inner tubing trip? Right? So I had to be on that inner tubing trip, right? And there was plenty of other people that wanted to go on an inner tubing trip in a jungle, with their family. And it's like, well, how did this guy approach us, right? So that's why I call it, is it an angel effect, or is it, how did that person just connect with us? And it's like, yeah, hell yeah. So, we bought the package. He drives out. He drives us to the place out right in the middle of the jungle, and it was so beautiful, trekking through the jungle. And we get to this, the hut where they keep all the the inner tubes and the life jackets and so on like that. But there were so many people there that, well, they had run out of life jackets, and they didn't know what to do. So again, coincidence number, I don't know, 3 or 4 by now. It's like it's like. And at the time, it's like, gosh, it doesn't matter, right? So I go, yeah, you know what? That's okay. I've got the inner tube, at best, right? I got the inner tube. I'm totally fine. I'm a strong swimmer. It's like, okay, great. So I was the only one in the group that didn't have, in our family, that didn't have the life jacket, right? And so we go out, and I look at the river, and I go, holy shit. this river is running so fast. I go, are you sure this is safe? And he goes, oh yeah, it's safe. It was rainy season. So it was fast. I'm going, because you've got little kids, and I'm going, I don't know about this, but it's like, okay, we'll go. We're here, we'll go in the jungle. But it was the craziest thing, I kept tying and making sure my kids' life vests, I kept checking and rechecking and tying them between their legs just in case it floats out, because they're tiny little kids. And as I'm rechecking, I start to understand, or I start to realize, it's like, why is it so quiet? The jungle was deathly quiet. The one thing that I remember the guide going is like, okay, this area is really fast, right? It's fast water. So what you want to do is, entangle your legs. So all the inner tubes, were entangled. So we go as a group. My two sons and I, we disconnect, and their inner tube and my inner tube, and my son was on there. We just floated off to one side. My wife at the time and my young daughter floated off to the safe side. So we get in, and about 10 minutes later, we're enjoying the view, and all of a sudden, right? It's gorgeous, right? In the jungle, and then all of a sudden, it's like right behind us. There's this say rock that's sticking out. It's got a hole, okay, and the water is just like pouring in, and I'm getting sucked into it. And it's the water pressure is so strong. I'm trying to swim out. I can't do it. So what I do is, I push my kids off. Push them all onto the other inner tube, and then by the time I do that, I just get sucked in. And since I didn't have a life jacket, I got literally zapped out of my inner tube and into the bowels of the earth. Okay, it's just like boom, I was gone, and I was struggling so hard, but the water pressure. I mean, just imagine a hole, man-sized hole, this big, right? Just got sucked in, and so that's a great water pressure, and I'm just grabbing everything, and the rock, the lava, just trying to crawl in, and I run out of breath. I don't know how long I was underwater, but it's like, God, I can't do it. So what do? You're stuck literally between a rock and a hard place, right? And then it's like, shit, here we go again, right? So I say thanks, I say, oh God, I love my kids, and all that. It's like, damn, I didn't know I was gonna die this early, and then I just let go. I let go, and it was a beautiful experience, by the way. But it's like I let go, but I didn't go anywhere. I was just like sitting in the water. I was just sitting in the water, and I was just watching the water flow through me. Okay, and then I saw my body floating away into the bowels of the earth, and going, that's interesting. And then the recollection of my first near death, came back. It's like, wow, I get to revisit that again. It was, again, the most euphoric experience. So I just watched my body float down, and that was, I guess, the end of my life, as I knew it, I guess. And then I floated through the rock, and then back through the water. I could still feel the freshness or the coolness of the water as I transcended through it. I saw a little bit of the jungle, and then I just floated into, say, the abyss or heaven. And in this case, I didn't stop anywhere. I still saw the tunnel of light, and I just went straight through the tunnel of light. I transcended, plopped out, basically graduated. It's like, hey, and then I was a spirit, literally like in this vortex. I was sucking all these possibilities of what could happen, what I could do, and I'm going, whoa, this is really expansive. But I was experiencing it all at once. It was a little, overwhelming at first, obviously, right? Because I'm still conditioned, one one bit at a time, right? In this reality, just like a computer, it's just like one bit at a time. On the other side, it's like, shit, there's no time, there's no space. It just happens to you all at once. So all things that happen to you all at once. But then, I got over that. I don't know how long it took me because there's no time and space. Everything feels forever, but then everything feels like there's no time. So everything feels really short, and then everything feels forever, so to speak. But you're just in a state of presence. I was understanding, or I was being taught on how the ride works. That's the end of the near-death experience. The life after that, obviously, was never the same. This is where my abilities came through. It took me a while. I went through some dark times to really, it's like you see the darkness and all the heaviness that people go through in this life. You see the possibilities. And I experience the possibilities, guys. It's there for us, right? And that's what I do nowadays, literally bring those possibilities in. So when you do have that near-death experience, you can use that springboard to launch yourself to higher grades rather than launching yourself down below. All right. Again, thanks for listening. Notice what you notice, and then notice the details. All right.